Thank you very much. So this, you have a beautiful sound, beautiful tone, and you play very, very well. Really very accomplished pianist. There are a few things that I would like to suggest. For me, especially, this very beginning, the key that it's written in, the story behind the piece, and the situation, the character of these introductory bars, I think you should have a different sound for sure than what comes in the allegro. Not just a different tempo, but a very different sound. Your sound was dynamically and timbrically, for me, very, very similar or identical. If you can find a more veiled sound, sort of a chorale-like sound, very intimate, very beautiful, like to draw us into this beautiful atmosphere, then once the allegro begins, it's all about lyrical sound, cantabile sound. But here, just I don't know if whether or not to use the left pedal, it's up to you, but more intimate. Now you have a lot of room. So you can differentiate more. And then once the allegro does begin, to avoid being vertical, you had a beautiful sound. It's not about that. It's about not accenting the beats or emphasizing them and the lineup. That kind of, you know what I mean? It felt to me a little bit fragmented rather than horizontal and flowing as a long line. And primarily it's the left hand that has to do it. Rather than, because again, you line it up. It's very dangerous when we play chords. We tend, unfortunately, to always play chords more vertically than we should. Sometimes it's required, and that's fine. It simplifies because it comes very natural, it's very easy. But when we don't want to, then it's more difficult. Anyway, can we start again from the beginning? Somehow it can be even more different. It could be not only quieter at the beginning, but as I said, a different quality of sound. More intimate, but also more like a voice, group of voices, chorale. So I dare say that perhaps it's not necessary there to bring out the top of the chords as much. Yes, it's the leading voice, but maybe not as much. And then when you have this melisma, very light. The first time you played it, it was really loud, and also the ornamental notes were as loud as the melodic notes. And so to avoid that, and then taper more at the end. Because then from there, you really open it up to have the big difference that I was talking about. So one more time, let's see what happens. And then, of course, even the notes that do move, they're not the same as the main melody in the right hand. So it's melody and counter melody, and then the pivotal notes, softer. Okay? but not loud, but no, it's not just that, it's very flowing, very playful, if you will. I sense some sort of interruption in the middle, or resistance to the flow in the middle of this passage. Maybe just at the end, you can take more time before you go to the next. Try that. Suggestion to you. I don't know if you disagree or if your teacher might disagree, but I think those should be up bows, not down bows. You're playing ha, ha. It's too loud for me. So then down bow, then up. And it's not just dynamic, it's the feeling of getting the sound to go area, as I said again. But it's different than you play absolutely identical. So and then here, do you think it's just the Henley edition, or are you following the Henley edition? So let me just double check if we have the same. Yeah, and then the second time, in the recap, you have the sforzato in a different place.
Yes.
Now, if I were to tell you honestly that I got that, I didn't. Let me hear it. Let me hear a little bit more of the sforzato. The first time is here, and then the recap, it's on the first note. So we need to hear. I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, we need to follow the score, and we need to get at the closest version of the score that we think that was what Beethoven wanted. Do I know that that's not just by mistake that Beethoven wrote that? No, I don't. But I remember one of my most influential teachers, Aldo Ciccolini, always told me, when you are faced by something like this, take it as an opportunity. You may or may not be sure 100% that it was meant to be different, but do it differently because it's an opportunity to showcase a different angle with the same material. So that sort of decides it. So let me hear it. What matters is this. So this is much softer. And by the same token, this it's not. But I would prefer that to. That was too present for me. I mean, it has to be there. It has to be clear. Everything is to be valued, but that doesn't mean it has to be even and mechanical, which I think it was a little bit, albeit with, as I said, with a beautiful sound. So let's continue from here. From there. and would vary the sound. Yes, it's piano, and then there is nothing written until this, when the crescendo starts. But I think you can inflect and can have some more nuances. It's so beautiful here. So after you play this, so when you get here, go back down. Start softer here. And also the accent that you have here, but not here. I want to hear. Those are the two notes that I want to hear. Espressivo in that. So you tend to play a little bit the same. Try to make it different. Softer, softer, softer. No, you don't want to play too loud. It's just. It's more like a little bit agitated to avoid being too static, too still. And with this, it was like too much like that. But if you think and this, so that moves as well. Okay, why do you play? This is a question, so you feel free to answer whatever the reason, but it's like a military march all of a sudden. I think this is very legato. I see your forearms go this type of sound. Is there a reason?
No, I didn't pay attention.
Okay. Legato, piano, and dolce. Those are the markings of Beethoven. Legato with the slurs, piano in parentheses and dolce. My hands have officially gone like two pieces of ice. I can't play anymore. So try. Yeah, even this is again a little playfulness is fine. A little playfulness is fine. Even if you think about this being like a love song, a little smile and a little playfulness is totally fine. But this felt like a mouse scurrying on the keys, like this. Non legato. So not staccato. Not staccato. Or I understand you don't want to legato too much, but think of the shape of it. Okay. And even the forte subito, it's not the sforzato. The sforzato is here. So that can be a little bit more punchy, but maybe. But this shouldn't be. So how to do that? I believe differentiate the four notes of the chord. Play louder only the top, not the whole thing like this. So you give it more sound. And that's a sforzato. So you can have a difference. Now listen to this. So that means you don't accent the beats. You play around it. Those are ornamental notes. It's a melisma. So yeah. Well, let's skip the repeat for now, but I commend you for playing it. Of course you must, but for now. Yeah, and I know that this is piano and the crescendo hasn't started yet, but a little bit more drama here, I think it's needed, so... So I feel, let me call it for what it is. Be more romantic here. Be more romantic. It's not a bad word or a swear word, especially not in Beethoven, because we are maybe too boxed in with this classical versus romantic. It's not Chopin. Who cares? I know it's not Chopin, but sing. Human condition and human emotions have been the same for thousands, if not, hundreds of thousands of years. Yeah, but go here. I would suggest here not, but the opposite. Actually, not the opposite. The opposite would be this. And I don't mean that either. Like a swell, a crescendo diminuendo. So it's neither nor whatever the notes are here. Not that. So can you try that? Don't accent the, yeah, don't accent the first. Make something beautiful of this when it starts crescendo, when it's joined by the left hand. So make it more espressivo. It's more. This is pressing this E sharp, so it's no longer. And a large interval. Etc. So that changes that pattern. So after we then when the two hands join together, it's supposed to be getting warmer, more involved emotionally. Okay. Can you try again that transition? And here's the same as before, for the most part, the same ideas anyway. We already talked about the difference in this time rather than on the second note. But then there's one thing that I wanted to point out when you play this the left hand there. It felt to me as if you were playing this. The bassoon buffo type left hand, that this eroica variations, but there are many examples. But I think that's more a cello than a bassoon, and it's not buffo. There's nothing buffo about it. So you want to try just that? Maybe a little bit before, then just usher it in. then after you play this cello espressivo, from here I would say. So there maybe it can be lighter and more, I wouldn't say staccato, but non legato. Okay. And then in the second, I know, even before looking, but in the second movement, let me just say two things very quickly. Try to have more energy and impact without having necessarily a brutal sound, which you didn't have, but you didn't have the energy. So you don't need to do that, but you can have energy without having volume and distribute it very well, but the speed of attack is still there. And then the second chord, it should be soft. And then this is the piano. And then sing. Again, the piano should be much softer. But it's all sharp, though. Very, very crisp. And then, and this is the last thing I wanted to say, there are slurs every 2 notes, not every 4. Now, I always have a debate, especially with my keener, smarter students who are into the Schnabel lineage, and they tell me, but Schnabel did it, and Fleischer did it like that, and also Andras Schiff does it like that. Raya does it as well. They actually say and do distort the rhythm. Yep, 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 yep. I don't go quite as far, but you don't do anything. You just play taka taka tika taka tika taka. I couldn't even tell that there was a slur on every 2 notes. So whether you want to take it very far or not so far, but something has to happen. You see what I mean? So that also brings me to maybe don't play it as fast. Just reduce the speed just a tad. It's not a presto or a prestissimo, it's a allegro vivace. And then you have more, you have time to use your wrist to produce that. Okay? Okay. All right. Thank you.